You got this right here, man. You got David Benavidez announced with Anthony Yarde, you know what I mean? And then just to add a little more context to the card, they building this card for November very strongly right here, man. You got David Benavidez versus Anthony Yarde. You got Devin Haney versus Brian Norman Jr. Then you got Ben Rodriguez versus Fernando Martinez. And then you got Cleveland's own, man, Ohio, Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes for that vacant WBO title at the 135-pound division, man. So give me your thoughts as far as this card so far. And right now, let me add a little context too. I'm hearing this is in negotiations too for this card. Raymond Muratalla versus Andy Cruz, IBF mandatory fight. You know what I'm saying? Even though the IDF didn't mandate it, but I heard that they are in negotiations for this fight and they're trying to negotiate it to be on November. So what do y'all think about the card in general that's already set right here? David Benavidez taking his talents with Turkey on a one-off fighting Anthony Yarde right here.
I like the card. To be honest, I still would put Devin and Brian as the main event. I'm sorry, but I would have Devin and Brian as the main event. But I like the fight. Yard is cool, but it's not Benavidez's fault. Benavidez is doing what he's supposed to do, man. He just take the fights you can get. I want him to be able to just
Right.
reign and whoop everybody you can. I like David, man. So that's my guy. I do rock with him. So that's the fight. It's a familiar name, but I think he gonna win. You know what I mean? So I don't think nothing ain't no 50-50 in my opinion at all. But it's
Yeah.
still, he's there. So it's just for him to look good and do what he got to do. Abdullah, yeah, of course, man. This is a good setup. This. I was wanting it to be in the UK because I want Abdullah to win a big fan base over there, but they're going to be tuned in anyway to watch this in
Right.
Saudi. So they're going to, Sam is bringing that over there, so that's going to be good. And, it's funny because I was talking to Abdullah's father. He called me 6 this morning, and we was talking, and I love it, man, because they asked me questions. And then one of the questions he asked me, he said, Marcus, he said, who was the last champions in Cleveland? The last few champions we had. And I said, well, you got Mickey Bay, Sean Porter, and then you got a big jump, like 40 something years. I think it's like 50, maybe 50 years. Go all the way back to Sam Max. And he was the only man that stopped Sugar Ray Robinson out of 200 fights. Sugar Ray Robinson, so he was the only one that stopped him from out of Cleveland, and he was a world champion. So it's a big gap there. But, I said those are the three names that comes to my mind when it comes to y'all Cleveland champions. So they already, is looking at the statistics. So, in Cleveland right now about world champions. So those are the conversations we having, man. It's kind of dope. So you can't look past Sam, but I think we all favoring Abdullah going into that fight, man. But I like the card with Bam too. Bam is a good fighter, man. So yeah, he's another guy that I talk about where his weight class, being small weight class. I think what class he fight in? I don't want to mess him up. What weight class is Bam?
He's at 115. 115.
115. That doesn't get televised as much, but Bam is becoming a name where, again, we're gonna have to start paying attention to that weight class and the people in that weight class because of him. He has to carry that torch. It's not easy sometimes. It's really not easy. You see what Clarissa Shields is going through. It's not
Absolutely.
easy. It's not easy. So I'm rooting for him. I'm definitely gonna root for him. But hopefully we start seeing other fighters that we're not familiar with and let them get some shine. Because that's pretty much what it's supposed to be about. Showcasing that weight class because Bam is in it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm okay with the card right so far.
Thanks, man. Yeah, Bam, he has a fight coming up July 19th against Kafu. So it's crazy. Of course, Turkey locked this fight in with Fernando Martinez. And I'm hearing that, Bam is on a pace where he's going to fight two more times at 115 and then eventually move up to 118. So that's the plan for Bam. Um, uh, David Benavidez and Anthony Yarde is the main event on this card, by the way. Devin and Bryant is not the main event. Sorry for you, Devin Haney fans. They're not main event. Just to enlighten some of you Haney fans, 'cause I know some of you Haney fans is out there. Y'all was like, "Oh, David, boy, they main eventing it." They ain't main event shit. David
Dang,
Benavidez and
bro.
Anthony Yarde is main event, so we had to add context right there to that. Now, you know I gotta be on my bullshit. You know I
I
gotta be on
got
my
you. I got
bullshit with
you. I got you.
that. All right, so I got some clips right here because all this commotion about David Benavidez, a lot of people out there talking about he bended the knee for Turkey and all of that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I got some video clips. Hold on, this the add content. Let's start off with a screenshot right here. So I know we remember this. And salute to sis, Jan Queen Boston. She showed it on her show too, and I had to show it on mine too. Remember when Turkey said this right here to Bivol saying, I am no longer interested in Bivol versus Benavidez, and I will not bid on it. I think Bivol knows who has delivered for him and who hasn't. My advice to Bivol, don't be late because every day something changes right here. So remember this right here, this tweet from Turkey Al Sheikh right here. Now, pertaining to David Benavidez, no, fighting over there with Turkey, one thing about it, I can say David was trying to make the fight with Callum Smith, but Callum Smith ducked. He clearly fucking ducked. And I'm gonna show these video clips of Eddie Hearn talking about it. I got actually three of them, so we're gonna run three of them right here. And this is the first clip earlier when they first start talking about the fight with David Benavidez and Callum Smith from Eddie Hearn right here.
And then they said Virgil wasn't available in August, he's not going to fight till later in the year. So we now say we'll probably fight in August, September, and then we're up for Virgil Ortiz as well. November, December, whenever. For us, I think it would be good to have that kind of interim fight. I like the Bohachik fight, Mendoza, Thurman, like whoever. I spoke to Louis DeCubas from PBC and said, let me know who you've got at 154. I don't think people are going to be jumping out to fight him, if I'm honest. But there's a decent payday there and a big fight.
Looking at 175, Eddie, we've got obviously BETERBIEV, BIVOL. Right under that, we've got a crop of title contenders, especially out of England. The one that I'm going to ask you about is obviously Callum Smith, rumored to be taking on David Benavidez. What's the status of that fight and what's going on with Callum Smith right now?
So we've had an offer from PBC for Callum Smith to fight Benavidez. We're negotiating with them at the moment. It's a great fight, and we all know that Benavidez is a great fighter. It's not an easy fight at all. Callum was the Ring Magazine world champion at 168 pounds. He'd love another shot at the title. There's no easy championship at 175. You've either got BIVOL or Benavidez. So there is a very good chance that Callum will take that fight against Benavidez, and we'll be making our decision over the next 1 or 2 weeks.
So that would be an offer for a fight.
All right, so I got another clip right here, and this is Eddie Hearn at that press conference for Edgar Berlanga, Shiraz, and Shakur and Zepeda right here talking about David Benavidez and Callum Smith.
So when you look at it, I think that I'm doing more and more business with PBC, and my relationship with Louis DeCubas is really helping that. So much so that Callum Smith against Benavidez is a fight that we're openly negotiating now. Coelho, if he wins on this card, fight Dalton Smith. Magasau against Hernandez. So many different fights. So look,
And I got a third one, and this is a recent one right here. This is the other day from Eddie Hearn talking about David Benavidez and Callum Smith right here.
Callum Smith might get that Benavidez fight. What happened to that, and where does that leave Callum Smith?
couldn't agree terms. So obviously Callum's in a great position because he's mandatory to Dimitri Bivol. He's the interim world champion, so he's going to get a shot by that. Benavidez is a great fight. We got made an offer to fight in America. The money wasn't enough. Then we got offered to fight in Saudi. The money wasn't enough, but Yarde took the money. Good luck to him. But he's not mandatory an interim world champion. He needs the fight. So yeah, Callum turned that one down, and now we move forward to fight later in the year.
Well, it's obvious. It's obvious.
So you see down the line from this is
Yeah.
why I love doing this shit on here right here.
Now,
I love to lay out the context for people just to see some of the bullshit right there. We
right.
seen three
Yeah.
videos from Eddie Hearn, start to
Yeah. You got.
finish, talking about this fight. And the
Mm-hmm.
last one, he says, "Oh well, we couldn't agree to terms. PBC didn't have enough money." And then he says, "Saudi." Meaning Turkey Al Sheikh didn't have the money to pay Callum Smith to fight David Benavidez. And remember, a lot of people were saying that Anthony Yarde, and they feel Yarde and Callum Smith is the same caliber fighter. So add context to that right there. What y'all think about this right here with David Benavidez getting ducked clearly by Callum Smith? This is clear. Like nobody couldn't change
Yeah.
my mind otherwise in this shit right here.
No,
Hey,
no. Go ahead. You can go. You go.
hey, I'm with you, fam. It's like definitely you. Hey, you just had receipts. You know what I mean? That it makes it. You can't even argue that. You know what I mean? You had receipts, but it's like I want to kind of go back to prior to the fact that he's going to fight Yarde. I kind of like Yarde, man, but to me, he just it just be something off sometimes. Like certain times he look like he on point or whatever, and then other times he'll be lackluster or he just has a mediocre performance. The way I see this
Hmm.
playing out, in my opinion, is that he's going to look tough the first couple rounds. It'll probably be some dogfight in there. But I think after like mid rounds, as he starts to gas out or whatever, then David's gonna turn up. Benavidez gonna turn up mid rounds throughout the whole fight. I think Yarde's gonna gas out and probably get knocked out or stopped. But
Right.
I just hate it for. It's like he's damned if he does, damned if he don't. When it comes to David Benavidez, he gets so much hate, and I try not to use the word hate so loosely because in boxing people say, "Oh, you're always saying somebody hating on somebody." But with David Benavidez, it's like people knock everything he do. So literally, I think after he does his thing with Yarde, it's gonna be like, oh, he should have done that to Yarde. But once it lines him up for BIVOL or BETERBIEV, if in fact he gets that shot and he wins one of those fights, you got to put respect on his name. They got to put respect on David Benavidez's name.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing, and I'm gonna add something to this too, because the thing about this shit with this, to me, it looked like he getting boxed in. Like David is like Turkey is not trying to give him the opportunity to fight Bivol and Beterbiev trilogy winner. Like that's what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? And then of course today, I mean, the other day, they announced that the Bivol Beterbiev trilogy is delayed to 2026 right here. You know what I'm saying? Just to add context all in with this with David Benavidez right here. So David Benavidez is fighting Yarde in November. Bivol Beterbiev, they fought in February in the rematch this year. And Ramadan is coming up in February, coming up this next year, following up in 2026. Looks like that fight probably going to be looking for February, and both guys is trying to fight in Russia so they can have a hometown fight. And look at what Beterbiev said about this right here on the fight, though. So Beterbiev, he says, um, of course, a lot of questions about the third fight. I decided to answer here. As you know, the first fight for the absolute champion title took place in October last year. In October, so he said after five years of attempts to unify the belts, it was still successful. The day after the first fight, we agreed on a rematch, which was to take place within 4 months, despite the fact that I was after the operation and my coach and doctor were categorically against such an early rematch. After the second fight, I immediately showed interest in the early third fight. And at first, there were rumors about the fight in August, but my opponent said in an interview that he wanted to hold it in the late autumn then at the end of the year, and now it is completely unknown when. Diamond, how old do I have to be so that we can fight for the third time? And this is Beterbiev speaking about the trilogy fight with BIVOL right here. And then let's add a little bit more context to it. So, of course, earlier this week, salute to my brother L Dub. My brother L Dub, he reported this shit, and then everybody else reported that after L Dub did it first. He reported that Michael Eifert was the mandatory challenger for BIVOL, and it got ordered. And right here, you got this going on right here. An order fight by the IBF with Dimitri Bivol with Michael Eifert right here. And they on some situation where it don't get negotiated, then Bivol's going to have to vacate that IBF title, which he'll only have two titles to defend against Beterbiev in that trilogy fight. So what do y'all think about this? All of this with David Benavidez right here, him fighting Callum Smith. Callum Smith is the WBO interim champion. So David Benavidez was trying to fight Callum Smith so he can get that interim title and put himself in more position to fight the winner of the trilogy between Bivol and Beterbiev. But Callum Smith, obviously, like I said, with him, with the video, it was like me. I love doing this shit. I gotta play the video back so people can really hear what this motherfucker said for real.
Cam Smith might get that Benavidez fight. What happened to that, and where does that leave Cam Smith?
Couldn't agree terms. So obviously Callum's in a great position because he's mandatory to Dimitri Bivol. He's the interim world champion, so he's going to get a shot by that. Benavidez is a great fight. We got made an offer to fight in America. The money wasn't enough. Then we got offered to fight in Saudi. The money wasn't enough, but Yarde took the money. Good luck to him. But he's not mandatory an interim world champion. He needs the fight. So yeah, Callum turned that one down, and now we move forward to fight later in the year.
You thinking about it, Morgus?
You said what?
What you thinking about it?
Man, look, you already didn't say, you pretty much didn't, when you cooking like that, it's like all I can do is add a little cherry on top, but you didn't say everything, man. You pretty much just said everything. Eddie Hearn is slick, you know what I mean? He's slick when it comes to that, but when the IBF mandatory getting in the middle of it, to me, I'm glad this is happening sometimes too, because we look at race sometimes. I remember when Terrence Crawford was trying to fight for undisputed against Ndongo. I don't know if y'all guys remember that, and they was trying to interfere that and trying to stop Ndongo for fight. I think they was trying to strip him from one of the belts or something like that. Something was going on. I have to go back and read up on that because I definitely want to stay sharp in those areas. But I remember they was trying to mess up that. So sometimes you if it's about the trip, it ain't always about the belts either. It's just about they want that fight. Sometimes you got to drop the belts and still get that fight if that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is it the pay? Is it the money? How much do you got to give up? To fight a Bivol? It's gonna come down to me. It's like is it a money thing? But if Bivol just gonna take that fight just to get so he can and then come back to that. I don't know what is Arthur going to do. I mean, what is he going to do? Is he going to take another fight? Because he is towards the end of his career, bro. He's right there. It's like, dang,
Yeah, he close. He like 40, close to 40. I'm like, he up here he said he up here like, man, shit, how old I'm gonna be to get this third fight?
Yeah, so it's a strategy too, man. So it's like, hey, I got it. Now, see, this is the thing you back out of. I got to fulfill my mandatory. What can I do? You know what I'm saying?
Bivol moving weird, man. They moving mad weird, bro. Turkey moving weird with Dimitri Bivol, dog. I don't like it. And if people can't read the room and not see this shit, like this is the reason why people don't be fucking with Turkey, because he really be like blocking out certain people with certain fights.
No, but I'm gonna keep it real though, Cam. You're absolutely right. I am not against you on that. I think you're right. But I think he's still building his plane while he's flying it. Turkey is still learning this, so he's starting to adopt a bad behavior. He's starting to see how these other promoters always been moving. Why you think the only thing about Turkey that I respect different from these other promoters, he's boldly coming out saying certain things that he should not say publicly. He just said everybody else do the same thing. They just don't say it. He up there talking about no running in boxing. I'm gonna come up with no running boxing room. I can see Bob Aaron and them saying, hey, don't say that out loud. I mean, I'm with you. You know, you see what I did.
Right.
You see what I did to get him a ring down. You know what I'm saying? Don't say that out loud. Just, just let the politics play itself. But he's more upfront, but he's still learning. So I think he gonna make a lot of more mistakes in the public eye than behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? He's learning, and it's not always good. I'm not just giving him a compliment because it's not always good. And you can tell when he lied about the Jake Paul and Canelo, just so he can get Canelo another fight. Remember, because he put something in the media, I forgot what it was, and then he came out and said
he lied. Yeah, that was nasty work too, right there, man.
So it was
that
like
was nasty work.
He's becoming one of them that he said he ain't trying to be like. That's the crazy thing. You're not wrong, man. You're not wrong on that. So it seem like he's moving with Bivol a certain way, but this mandatory, this IBF thing situation is going to be real interesting to see how they move. I definitely, it's about the papers. It's the money. Is it the money? Can they pay him off, or So I'm looking at all that. That's going to be interesting.
Right. Now, and even with David Benavidez, like I said, with him fighting Anthony Yarde, from what I've heard, this is a one-off. He's fighting over at one-off. I know Jose Benavidez Sr., he did have an interview early this morning with Mill City, and he was speaking about the fight, saying that, no, David Benavidez, they team, they all intact for us, Samson Likowitz and Al Heyman and PVC and everything. But they said this is a tester fight, and they said, hey, they may fight another fight with Turkey. You never know. You know what I mean? So they're just testing the waters with this fight pretty much. And everybody making this whole commotion about David Benavidez bending the knee. Like, everybody's putting a lot of hate on David Benavidez because he's attached to PBC. That's all it is. And I'm like, this is the fighter that everybody should be fucking with right now. Like, this guy, he's willing to fight any and everybody. He's doing everything possible to try to unify or become undisputed. Canelo, he was mandatory for Canelo for 3 years. Canelo, WBC never ordered the fight. Canelo ducking David Benavidez, saying he wants 200 million and shit just to fight him and shit. And PBC tried to offer him 50 mil, and he didn't want to take the 50 mil. You know what I mean? So it's just nasty work just to see a lot of people throw a lot of hate at David Benavidez when he's the fighter that everybody should be rooting for, because he's the one that's taking on all the challenges. He done fought all the guys around Canelo. Like, okay, you don't want to fight me? I'm going to fight all the guys around you. You know what I'm saying? To get to you. And he did that, and then he said Canelo still didn't want to fight him. He said, oh, fuck it. I'm going to move up to 175. He going after Beterbiev and Bivol, and you got Bivol moving funny and shit. He done vacated the WBC belt, so he wouldn't fight David Benavidez, so he can fight the trilogy, which is, I'm all cool with them fighting the trilogy. I'm all cool, because it's 1-1. So I'm cool with the trilogy happening. My thing is, don't move funny in this trilogy with Beterbiev. You know what I'm saying? Now the time is getting pushed back on that shit, and Beterbiev getting old, so it's like damn near looking like Bivol aging him out for the trilogy and shit. So it's just some nasty work.
Yeah, that could be coming from his team too, because Bivol will probably go right back. It's his team, man. It's always strategy, and that is nasty work. Yeah, I agree, man. But again, Bivol, I love what David Benavidez is doing. I criticized him couple years back because I didn't like that he was sitting in the position with Demetrius Andrade and Jamal Charlo, where they all waiting for Canelo and nobody is trying to win fights. I criticized him. I said, y'all got to start making your own name first instead of just waiting for this Canelo ticket. And I was consistent on that. So I'm glad that he's actually fought the Demetrius Andrade and started to make his own name, man. So he's doing what he's supposed to do. I ain't criticizing him. So it's only so much you can do. I respect David.
Yeah, me too, man. They just throw a lot of shade at David Benavidez. Throw a lot of shade. It don't make no sense.
Okay then, man. So let's go ahead and get into the